Badass Attitudes, licensed here, flipping the format on the fear of failure. A badass is aware of their emotions, acknowledges their fears and owns them, and knows when they need a positive attitude adjustment. You know what doesn't get old? Being called a badass.
Yeah, being called a badass does not get old ever. So, hey everybody, Kelly Orchard, the Badass Certifier, with you on this Wednesday once again. Did you know this is episode 111? I probably should have been more episodes into this by now, but I have sort of taken a step back from Fruitful Fridays. Actually, I eliminated it because I was just basically repurposing my Apple a Day, which if you want to catch the Apple a Day podcast, which is a daily 60 seconds of nourishment for you, of wisdom, success, and personal growth, that's on the same podcast platform. You just search my name, Kelly Orchard. You'll find the Badass Certifier and Kelly Orchard's Apple a Day. So this is episode 111. I do need to get some Mustang Mondays going, but I've been kind of remiss about that as well. Mainly just because it's become a little bit more challenging to track people down, to get them in the car. We're all trying to get busy with our lives, and the holidays are coming. So and I'm busy also. I'm trying to make some adjustments, and I got the Badass certification class coming up on Friday, which is 2 days away. Some things just got to take a back seat to what's really going on. And so, it's not really a pun. The back seat of the Mustang has no room. So, oh my gosh, sometimes I just get stupid and silly on this podcast, but you keep coming back, so that's a good thing. And if you're new to the podcast, thank you very much. I do pay attention myself to the statistics of the downloads for this podcast, and they have been growing. And sometimes I get a large number of downloads in the same day, but they're all from different podcasts, so I know that it's one person probably, or several people just kind of listening to them. So I do encourage you to go back and listen to the entire series, because I go through the entire BADASS acronym and what it means for you as I develop my programs and continue to certify badasses one podcast at a time. So let me just tell you, so this month is November, obviously, and we're covering the second A in BADASS, which is awareness. So in the entire BADASS acronym, the second A stands for awareness. And so what we focus on is being aware of your emotions. So I teach you about emotional intelligence. We study a little bit about nostalgia and how it is a mood booster. We don't want you to live in the past, but it's okay to visit every once in a while. And a lot of positive psychology. I love heart math. I'm certified in that technique and that method. And so this is what we're doing. And so I wanted to share with you about some of my own personal awareness projects, because as I work with my clients, I'm reminding them, this is our theme throughout the month, is being aware of what's going on around you, or being aware of what you're feeling, practicing some emotional intelligence, paying more attention to your own behaviors even. And I've been seeing the results in this with my clients as I work with them one-on-one, is they're coming to an awareness of their own behaviors. So I wanted to share, so Michelle's Place, that I broadcast and podcast and have my offices here at Michelle's Place, Cancer Resource Center, now here in Temecula. I moved here in May. And so this past weekend, Michelle's Place celebrated 20 years of service, helping women with cancer. Now, obviously it started out as a breast cancer resource center, and they are evolving into servicing all cancers, and is the only cancer resource center like this, I think, in Southern California. My facts could be wrong, but I just came from this gala and learned all these facts myself. But some of this stuff I also knew already, because I've been involved and entrenched here and for quite a while, and I think that I was pleased and honored that I had the opportunity to sort of share a little bit of my story. I was not aware that this was going to be something that I could do. My intention of being here was just to have a presence and support this organization that I love and cherish so much, with what they do for individuals who have been diagnosed with the chronic illness that may take their lives. It's a battle. It's not even the physical and the medical battle that they have to now endure. It's the emotional and the psychological, that their life has just been completely derailed, and any plans that they were making have now got to be altered. Well, that doesn't only affect the patient that's had the diagnosis. It also affects their family, their loved ones, their coworkers, their employer. Everybody in their little community is now impacted by what has occurred to this one individual, and everybody's going to have a different response or reaction to it. Well, that's what led me here to Michelle's Place after my heart crisis. And so my intent to go to this gala was just to be here as a support. I had the opportunity to meet 300 people that are somehow, some way involved and celebrating this organization. And so, Michelle's Place just built a larger facility, 10,000 square feet. That's how I got the honor of having office space here. I'm a tenant. I'm not an employee of. So I went to this event really just to support, but also to observe and just to find some awareness. It was not a networking event for me. I was not pushing badass on anybody. I opened my office door. It's usually closed with a curtain, for privacy purposes. I'm a psychotherapist, so my door is always closed for my clients. But in this instance, with this event, I opened up my door, and so that was the only element of badass to my life was anybody commenting on my badass office, which if you've followed the podcast or you follow me on social media, I've shared pictures with you. Pictures really don't do it justice. When you walk into the office and you close the door, I don't know, for me, it really does feel like a nice, cozy hug. And that's what I wanted. And so as I'm walking around and I'm just cozy, walking around, sitting in one room or another with individuals that I'd never met before, very casual, not feeling like I'm networking. I don't have any business cards with me, although I could go get one really easily. But I'm just a psychotherapist here at Michelle's Place. And it was a beautiful event, and I was glad to just not be there with any other purpose, but that just to be aware of the celebratory environment, the awesomeness of the staff here and the committee for the gala. Did a tremendous job. It was right here in the parking lot with a tent and lighting and tables and a band and video, and they were doing Facebook Live. It was so well done. And I was so glad that I didn't have anything to do with it. Because, it's like I used to run radio promotions for almost 20 years. So, and when you say radio promotions for almost 20 years, well, it's not just one promotion a year for almost 20 years. You're in constant promotion mode. And so I have this been there, done that attitude. But the thing is that I also know how much work goes in to pulling off an event like that and what goes on behind the scenes. So I feel very privileged to have had a backstage pass to all this stuff going on. That past week or so here at Michelle's Place has been a flurry of activity as they, finished up the construction and the remodeling while they're preparing for this gala to make everything look nice and pretty. Imagine if this was your home. Well, this is their home. This is Michelle's Place. It's Michelle's home. So I was very thrilled and honored that they just had part of their program was to get the attendees, if they wanted to get up and share a little bit about their journey with Michelle's Place, to get up and share. And so there was a couple doctors, there was several of the Michelle's Place people who have gone through Michelle's Place because they had suffered with breast cancer, now then became volunteers and now are employed by. Well, they were just passing the microphone around the whole tent room area, and I'm sitting. Literally, I was sat in the back in the corner, probably deliberately because that's where I deserve to be most of the time. But I just kind of thought, oh, I want to share my story about why I'm here with Michelle's Place, and so I stood up and I was able to give my own personal journey, and so this is how I ended up with Michelle's Place. So 10 years ago, as I was making my transition with my career, I had finished grad school, finished my internship, and was ready, almost licensed, not quite licensed yet, waiting to take the licensing exam, but trying. I moved here to Temecula area because this is where I wanted to start my practice, because this is where my daughter and son-in-law and my first grandchild were living, and I was making shifts and changes anyway. Might as well start all over in a new town. So I moved here about 10 years ago, not quite licensed yet. I've shared with you I've been licensed 8 years. So I'm still kind of finishing up my internship, working in another field, thought I'd start a coaching business, had written my book, Heart Lessons, and joined the local chapter of California Association of Marriage and Family Therapists. And I vied for a position on the board of directors for that organization, and I became the chair of the marketing committee. Go figure. So because I have the resume for it and I was volunteering to do it and I was happy to. So I can encourage my chapter to join the Chamber of Commerce because we wanted to get the message out there to reduce the stigma of mental illness and encourage people that therapy is a good thing. And so I started going to networking events in Temecula, and at one of those events, I met Kim Garish, who is the executive director here at Michelle's Place. Now, she's been here 18 years, and this is 10 years ago, so she'd only been in this position 8 years, and the organization was about 10 years old by then. So they were already well established. She was well established. We were getting acquainted. She didn't know me from Adam, but I told her my heart story. And so and I had a book. And so it just gave me an opportunity to introduce myself to the founders, who are Michelle's parents, who lost her to breast cancer in her 20s, Marilyn and Bill Watson. And I still remember very well coming and visiting with them right there in what seemed like a living room at Michelle's Place, sharing with them my journey and how I transitioned my entire career because of it, because I wanted to be able to help people who had suffered a life-derailing event and give yourself permission to take the time you need to recover, but then don't be a victim by it. Stand up and do something with it. And so that began a relationship with Michelle's Place, and I've had the privilege and the honor to have met many of the breast cancer survivors that have come through here, because each year they have a survivor retreat, and I've been privileged to be a presenter almost every year since I met Kim and started establishing a relationship with Michelle's Place. And I've taught at several of their educational seminars, and that's how I ended up here at Michelle's Place, because when they started to build this bigger facility, I came knocking on their door and said, can I be part of your family? And I'm not an employee I am a tenant, but I love being here and the work that I am privileged to do. And so in the theme of badassery, awareness of your surroundings is part of the badass journey. And so I did not go to the Michelle's Place Gala event to promote badassery or my apple a day or even myself as a psychotherapist. I was so happy to just kind of mosey around and chat with people and talk about Michelle's Place and show them my office if they wanted to see it. But really, I just left the door open and people came to me and said, I saw your office, so it's pretty badass. So either way, I got news for you. It was a very subtle way to let people know about the marriage of badassery and people who have been diagnosed with some sort of a chronic illness or had their life derailed, because that's what B.A.D.A.S.S is all about. Because if you're not quitting and you're not giving up, you might get knocked down time and time again. But if you keep getting up and you keep trying and you want to grow and you're not just going to play victim and be angry, well, then you're already badass. And that does not get old. And so the B.A.D.A.S.S concept was really designed to be a positive mindset motivator. And I'm so happy that I was able to participate at the Michelle's Place Gala. And then, of course, now I have the B.A.D.A.S. certification class coming up this Friday. I've been spending all week fine-tuning the details and surprised by, some of the photo post memories, basically because gosh, the last time I got to certify badasses in person was at the Amplify Your Badass Self workshop at a private recording studio with a local record producer. Completely different environment, probably was a completely different audience. But that was 2 years ago. That was before this pandemic. So as I've been preparing, it's like, this time here, way different with the location at Michelle's Place. It's a classroom-like setting rather than like in somebody's private living room. I've upped my multimedia game to add more videos and music to make it memorable. And then I have something to share with you about that. Statistics on retaining information. How many times have you gone to a training or a seminar or a workshop, which is, maybe job related, or maybe you went with some friends, or whatever the purpose was for a mindset, for a retreat, or whatever it is. I remember, I've been through, I started my broadcasting career in 1980, and my dad, who was the owner of the station, had also spent a time, before that in real estate. So he knew about mindset and motivation in order to sell and get listings for houses and homes, right? And then of course in the radio business, he worked with a lot of salespeople and selling advertising. So he was very already aware of the sales and the training process. And so we would have regular sales meetings where we would actually listen to, seminars and trainings on tape by different trainers, and we would have books. And so I've been at this since I was 16 years old. So I pretty much have been there, done that, seen it all, because it started in that age. And I've gone through leadership trainings at different levels in different time periods. And I can honestly say that the statistics that I'm about to share with you is really accurate. So here's the statistics for you on retaining information. Okay. And this is why I choose B.A.D.A.S., because it's memorable, and I tie it to music in your memories. So here's the thing. After 1 hour, people retain less than half the information that was presented. After 1 day, people forget more than 70% of what was taught in the training. After 6 days, people forget 75% of the information in their training. Can you believe that? Okay, so forgetting isn't just the learner's fault, though. The presentation of information can either hinder or spur our memory. People often forget because it was never actually learned in the first place. So whether it's their gnat-sized attention spans or unclear messages that are to blame. Interference occurs when information is not learned deeply, when it's not applicable to someone's day-to-day work. Information in our memories can decay and fade over time if not accessed enough. So to learn, the brain builds on existing knowledge. That's why practice makes perfect. Sleep affects your memory. Scientists recommend a full night's sleep within 30 hours of learning something new. You know what? Corporations spend over $70 billion on training. Yep, that includes all those one and done fancy seminars. How many trainings or self-help seminars, books, workshops have you attended in your lifetime? Whatever the topic, whatever the industry or the job or school, you'll remember what you learn when you practice it. The fundamentals. And that's what I teach to teach you to be successfully badass. My program is a hybrid of digital and workshops and group coaching through Zoom. And I teach you all the basics and fundamentals to live a successfully badass life on your own terms. And you know what? Quote that I use from Zig Ziglar all the time. They say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. Do you know that's why the apple a day was developed? So I could give you a daily reminder for wisdom, success, and personal growth. I teach a lot of this in my programs, the fundamentals, the basics, even in broadcasting. If you have to reinvent, best to go back to the basics. Look at the films and the character development of $1 Million Baby, Rocky, the Karate Kid. They already had some skills and talents in their choice, in athletic choice, fighting, boxing, right? Karate. But they had to go and fine tune some skills, and the coaches brought them down to some basic fundamentals. Well, basic fundamentals is what's going to make you succeed. Now, I want to, as I'm preparing for my B.A.D.A.S. certification class, the A in B.A.D.A.S. is for awareness. And I've been working with a lot of my clients this month on just acknowledging the shift in their thoughts with awareness as an ongoing theme. I'm witnessing a lot of personal growth as they're aware of their own behaviors and then kind of stepping back a minute and say, why am I doing this? Or why am I thinking that? Or they're aware of the behavior of those around them and stepping back for a minute rather than reacting. immediately right away. And then we're processing that own awareness. So the Badass class is this Friday, and I always spend a good amount of time, quality and quantity time, preparing my materials, but also my mindset to present. I designed it to be fun and memorable so that you would want to practice in order to commit healthy, badass habits to memory, even muscle memory. That's why I love using music. So I got a little sneak peek of some of the content for you that I'm going to play for you right now. It's a little audio clip about neuropsychology and neuroplasticity. Did you know that you can rewire your brain for happiness? You sure can. Well, check this out. Music is the soundtrack of our lives. As we discover songs that are attached to happy times, happy memories, and seasons in our lives, we can utilize the science we've learned and develop a very specific tool, unique to each of us at a very personal level, to achieve and maintain the positive attitude adjustment we need. Let's learn about brain science and how you can simply flip your negative thoughts to positive, like changing the radio dial, or the mixtape, or the song. So let's discover a little bit about our brains. Neuropsychology is the study of the relationship between behavior, emotion, and cognition on the one hand, and brain function on the other. How the brain affects us, or how our thoughts affect our brain. The science of neuroplasticity has proven that you aren't born with a limited number of brain cells. That's right. We all have believed that our brain cells die, but medical science has shown that they change and grow, just like you do. This is why cognitive behavioral practices will have such a huge impact on your ability to change and grow. Your thoughts are not fixed. They're changeable. So, look at your fears. What holds you back? The fear of rejection, the lack of confidence. What happened in your past? Experiences won't happen again when you change how you think about them. In 2009, there was a study conducted where National Institute of Health examined the blood flow in various regions of the brain while the participants mustered up feelings of gratitude. The results showed that those who expressed gratitude overall had higher levels of activity in the hypothalamus. Now you might be asking, exactly what does the hypothalamus do? Well, the hypothalamus controls a huge assortment of essential bodily functions, including eating, drinking, and sleeping. It also has a huge effect on your metabolism and stress levels. It really starts to become clear how improvements in your thoughts could have such a wide-ranging effect, from increased exercise and improved sleep to decreased depression and fewer aches and pains, based on this evidence on brain activity. There's a lot of information written, studied, and produced about the psychological and physiological benefits of music. Neuroscience agrees that music boosts your brain power, influences your emotions, reduces stress and stress hormones, lowers blood pressure and heart rate. So defining what's important to you and focusing on the positive aspects of your life and your journey enables you to be more efficient with decision making, which reduces anxiety and depression. In brain science, increasing the dopamine in your brain, activating neurotransmitters, and increasing serotonin will reduce stress and anxiety. It's biology. Crises don't build character, they reveal it. You too can master your mindset by allowing yourself to rewire the neural pathways in your brain. Yes, you can rewire your brain for happiness. So I'm looking forward to the B.A.D.A.S. certification class coming up on Friday. I've got a bunch of badasses to certify, but I'm still certifying you one podcast at a time. So I'm really glad that you joined me. So listen, what's on your badass soundtrack? I know right now what's on my badass soundtrack. I always like to wrap up Wednesdays with a little bit of music for you. Right now, I'll tell you, you don't need the lyrics. It's a bit of Nazareth. Hair of the Dog. We're going back to classic rock from the 70s. That's kind of like a hard driving muscle car kind of, music. So I need some hard driving classic rock with a lot of bass and drums right now to get me pumped up and going. And it's not because of any other reason that I just like to be upbeat and fun and positive, because I want my participants, my attendings that are going to be certified badasses to remember and to commit it to memory and to want to practice to successful badassery. All right, so thank you so much for joining me. It's time for Mr. Ocean to take it away.
What's on your badass soundtrack? Who wouldn't want to be a certified badass? Hop on the bus to Badassville. Be bold. Be brave. Be confident. Be badass.